Welcomes, welcome once more to my DevOps six-figure channel. The journey for six figures is here. Okay, so this video is going to explain, is going to explain to you what are the fundamental differences between Jenkins and GitLab. So many engineers, so many learners, um, they comparing GitLab to Jenkins, or they comparing GitLab to GitHub. They are not the same. GitLab and GitHub, they are not the same. Now, we want to talk about the pipeline that is used to build, test, and deploy applications, for example. Okay. Our first, there's a video that we made that shows you how to create a GitLab pipeline. But how is this different from Jenkins? What's the difference between this and Jenkins pipeline? If you look at this diagram, okay, you will realize that Jenkins here, right? Jenkins does not have the version control integrated. Jenkins is dependent on an external source code management system, GitHub, to properly build its pipelines and run it. Okay. But GitLab does not need any extra external source code manager. So in GitLab, your code and your pipeline are sitting in the same place. So it has a faster build time, a faster testing time, and a faster deployment time because there's no API exchange between GitLab and any other source code management. But with Jenkins, Jenkins needs to communicate and query GitHub APIs to pull your source code and load it into the pipeline and do a run. But GitLab has no external version control is needed. So your code sits in the same place as you run your pipeline. So that's why it is fast, it's efficient, and it makes your pipeline into the same environment. Okay. Jenkins has scenarios where Jenkins is very robust, like building artifact. Jenkins is one of the best tools out there to build your artifact. It's one of the first CI/CD tool that came out, and Jenkins is written in Java. Okay, so this video is going to show you the fundamental differences in the pipeline as code. We are going to do some side-by-side comparison between a GitLab CI/CD pipeline code and a Jenkins CI/CD pipeline code, so we can see the differences in it. This is written in YAML, this is written in Groovy. Okay. And also, if you're planning to get a DevOps job, okay, a DevOps training, you can contact me at this number here. Okay. I have I have a very powerful platform where you can learn and train in DevOps. Okay. You can get yourself into IT at the six-figure level. Okay. So looking at this diagram, you see here that Jenkins is dependent on an external source code manager to run a pipeline. GitLab does not need any external source code manager. The code and the pipeline sit in the same place. So here right now, I'm going to take us to my terminal, to my IDE, which is going to be my Sublime text. And we're going to look at some fundamental differences between Jenkins pipeline code and GitLab CI/CD pipeline code. So let's go to our IDE here. Our IDE here is going to be Sublime text. Now on this environment here, I'm going to take this out and then we're going to start, okay, writing the code. Now we want to, on my left side here, okay, is Jenkins. On my right side is GitLab. So here I'm going to say GitLab. This is GitLab, right? Here is Jenkins. Here is Jenkins. Okay. Here is Jenkins. So I'm going to do enter. Okay. I'm going to do enter. On this other side here, I'm also going to do enter. So watch out. There, the first statement here, GitLab and Jenkins here, is just to tell you that on my left side is going to be the Jenkins equivalent. And then on my right side is going to be the GitLab equivalent. Okay, the GitLab equivalent. So here, I'm going to call this one GitLab CI/CD, GitLab CI/CD. Why I'm going to call this one, okay? I'm going to call this one Jenkins CI/CD, Jenkins CI/CD, Jenkins CI/CD. Okay. Now, take a closer look at the code. Okay. Here in Jenkins, we want to talk about the declarative pipeline. Declarative pipeline is a modern way of writing Jenkins file, which breaks your pipeline into stages, steps, and it makes it easier for you to manage it. It gives you accurate readability aspect when it comes to analyzing your pipeline code. So to start here, we are going to begin with pipeline, right? Pipeline. This is how we're going to go about it. Pipeline. I'm going to do enter, right? Yeah, I'm going to, when I say pipeline, yeah, I'm going to read enter, okay? Yeah, I'm going to say agent. On which agent is this pipeline going to run, okay? I want to say label, right? On that label, I want to specify, say agent one, for example. That's the agent on which the pipeline jobs is going to run. Now, after that, I'm going to define the pipeline stages itself like this. Then I'm going to hit enter. Here I will do stage. I want to define the first stage. The first stage here, I'm going to call it stage one. The name of that stage, I'm just going to give it build. Okay, build. Then that stage has a body. In that body, you have to specify the steps, right? The steps, the steps that are going to be taken to execute that stage. Here in this stage, in these steps, we're just going to say want Jenkins to run some background commands on the terminal on the shell. That background command, we're just going to see Jenkins try to run a df-h, a df-h. That is the steps. Okay. Now, I'm going to go to the next one. If you put your cursor here, this is going to go with this to avoid having errors with your changer braces. This goes with this. Here, I'm going to hit enter. Here, I'm going to go to the next stage, right? The next stage here, I'm going to say this is stage two. I will just call this stage test stage, okay? Then here, the stage has a body. I hit enter. Here, what is going to happen on this stage should be inside steps. Then I hit enter. Here I will say sh. I will just say I want to run some sort of MVN test. This is just a demo, MVN test, for example. Okay. Then I will proceed to the next stage of the pipeline, which is going to be, we're going to limit it to 3 stages. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to say this stage here is going to be stage 3. This stage 3, let's call it deploy. Let's call it deploy. Okay. Let's call it deploy. This is the deploy stage, for example. Then I'm going to add my braces here. I hit enter. Here I will do steps. I will hit enter. Okay. Here I'm going to do enter. Then I'm going to say sh, right? Or let me just say echo, right? Echo end of pipeline, for example. Okay. End of pipeline. Now take a closer look on my left side here is the Jenkins CI/CD. Okay. On my right side now is the same equivalent for CI/CD. For CI/CD, I'll also go on number 4. For CI/CD, you have to define the image of the runner that's going to be used in order to run your pipeline. It's like talking about the agent that you have here. Okay. So here, if I say image as a global variable, as a global definition, image, okay. Yeah, I can just say this image is coming from, you can say a certain dollar, right? URL, right? Slash, you can say image, you can just say something like, for example, image link, image link. It can be an AWS image, it can be Docker image or whatever. Okay. This image signifies is going to give you the runner that GitLab is going to use. Here we're talking about agent. Here we're talking about runner. Okay. Now, once I'm done with that, what am I going to do? Okay. I will come down here. I'm going to say stages, right? Stages. Here in GitLab, you are going to define your stages first. Here I have how many stages? You see here I have stages. Here this is the stages here. This is Yame, this is Gobi. Now what am I going to do? The first stage here, the name of the first stage here is build. So I'll come here, I'm going to do build. You see that, right? Now I do enter. The next stage name here is test. So I'm going to do same thing here. I'll list them out, test. Then the next stage after test is deploy. I'm going to do what? I will do deploy. Now, I have defined all my stages as you see here on my left side for Jenkins equivalent. Okay. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to do enter. Here in GitLab, I need to define a job. I need to define a job. Look at in Jenkins, the job in the Jenkins equivalent is what is inside the steps block. Now here in GitLab, that jobs, we are going to call that jobs exactly as what we have here as stages. So I'll just call that job. The name of that job is going to be build. Okay. Then I'm going to do enter. Now, that build, that build is in what stage? That build is in stage. The stage of that build is the build stage. Is the build stage. Okay. Then I'm going to hit enter. In that build stage, what was the action? Here we call the action with steps in Jenkins. Here I'm going to call the actions with script. You see that? With script. Now, how many actions, how many actions did we have at the level of Jenkins? We just have one action. Okay, just one action. So here I can just say run a command. Yeah, I'm just going to say df, for example, df hyphen h. df-h. Okay, that is the command that's going to run once. That's the command. Okay, I just want to make it looks exactly like what you see here to give you the concept behind the differences between the GitLab CI/CD pipeline code and the Jenkins pipeline code. Now, that is the only job that runs in that specific step. Okay, now I remember this command here is the Linux command, so the image here should be compatible with the command that you have here. The image here should be compatible. So the image here should be kind of a Linux image that's going to accept this script. So I'm going to do enter. Okay. Now, that's the only thing that was in that step. What am I going to do next? I'm going to define the next stage, which is test. I'll call it as a job, test. Now, this test job has to run in which stage? It has to run in the test stage, right? And then in that test stage, what is the action? What is the action? What is the action? The action there is simply running an MVN test. MVN test. Okay? MVN test. What do I do next? I do enter. Okay? Now, the next and final stage here, I'll call the job deploy job. The deploy job. In this deploy job, it runs on which stage? It's running on the stage with name deploy. That's the name of the stage deploy. Okay? Now, what is the action? Here we are calling it with steps. Here we are calling it with script. That's the action. What's going to be the action here? The action here, we're just going to say um echo, right? Echo, echo, end of, end of, end of what? End of pipeline. End of pipeline. Okay? End of pipeline. This is end of pipeline. So on my right side is the GitLab CI/CD pipeline code. On my left side is my Jenkins, is my Jenkins file. So this is the fundamental differences between your Jenkins file and your GitLab CI/CD file. Okay. So now what am I going to try to do here? What I want to do here is let's run this code on a Jenkins machine and see how it's going to display it as we saw on the other video with the CI/CD GitLab pipeline. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I will come to my system here. Okay, I will come to my system here. I will go to my Jenkins. This is my Jenkins here. I will go back to my dashboard. This is my Jenkins dashboard. I'm going to log into my Jenkins. Okay, log into my Jenkins. This is my Jenkins UI. There's a backend for this Jenkins. This is the UI. So in this UI here, I'm going to click on new item. Then I'm going to call this new item Jenkins CICD hyphen demo. Okay. Then the type of pipeline, the type of project is a pipeline project. So I select pipeline. Then when I scroll down, I select OK. You see that? Now this is the configuration of the pipeline. We are configuring the pipeline on the Jenkins UI. With GitLab, you don't have this UI, you don't have this opportunity. You do everything with the code. Okay. So I will click on discard all build to avoid noise. So I will do two builds here. I will do two builds here. Okay. Then here I'm going to select the build trigger. GitLab is automatic. Here you have to specify it here. GitHub hook trigger. Okay, GitHub hook trigger. Now I want to define the pipeline script. This pipeline script here, right? If you keep it on pipeline script, therefore means you want to run your code on the Jenkins UI. That is not good practice because if you're working in a collaborative environment, your colleagues, other engineers, they can't see what you're doing. So for you to be able to work in a situation whereby other engineers can collaborate with you, you want to build this job from GitHub. So you have to click here and select pipeline from SCM. Pipeline from SCM. Okay? Pipeline from SCM. Now, in the pipeline from SCM, you click here, you're going to select Git. Now, once you select Git, you have to give the repository for that Git. Now, where are we going to get that repository? We have a GitHub repository here. The repository here is called Jenkins GitHub 101. The repository is called Jenkins GitHub 101. If you look at the name of that repository, it's called Devops-sixfigures. Devops-sixfigures. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to click on code. Okay. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see clearly. Yeah, I'm going to click on code. I'm going to clone it over HTTPS for Jenkins. Okay. Then I'm going to slice back to my Jenkins. I'm going to put it here. Okay. This is me now connecting my Jenkins to my project in GitHub. Now I need some credentials to get to this GitHub repository. So I'm going to click on add, click on Jenkins. Here I'm going to say username with password. The username here is going to be DevOps, DevOps hyphen six figures. Devops-sixfigures. Now the password here is going to be, I'm going to enter my password. That's my password. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to say Jenkins demo hyphen ID, right? Jenkins demo hyphen ID. Yeah, I will say the same thing. Jenkins demo hyphen ID. Okay. Then I'm going to click on add. Once I click on add, then I come back. Yeah, I'm going to choose Devops-sixfigures, this one. Okay. Now you have to check and double check. So how do I double check it? I'm going to return to my repository. I'm going to check the name. The name here is, if you click here, is Devops-sixfigures. Okay. So what do we do now? We are going to return back to our Jenkins, continue our configuration. Yeah, I want to build from the main branch. I want to build from the main branch. Okay. In that main branch, Jenkins, we're going to be searching for the Jenkins file. Same in GitLab, we had a .gitlab-ci.yaml. That is the equivalent of a Jenkins file in a Jenkins pipeline. Okay. So I'm going to click on apply. Then I'm going to click on save. Now I'm going to click on save here. Okay. If you look at this pipeline Jenkins CI/CD demo here, if you go to the repository which Jenkins is building from, you don't see any pipeline code there. There's no pipeline code in this repository. Okay. So what am I going to do? I will click here. Okay. I will go on settings, click on settings. I will come to SSH key. If you look here, I don't have any SSH key. I will click on new SSH key. Okay. Then here, the title here is going to be, I will say DevOps hyphen six figures, six figures key, right? Then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to my I'm going to go to my VS Code. Okay. Yeah, I will do clear. Okay. Now I'm going to do cd, and then I'll just hit cd dot dot. I want to go back by one step. Okay. Now, what am I going to do here? I'm going to do cat, right? Tilde forward slash dot ssh forward slash id rsa dot pip. I'm going to hit enter. This is the key here. I'm going to grab this key. This is my public key. I'm going to grab this key. Grab this key. I go back to my GitHub. I'm going to paste the key here. Paste. Okay. Then I'm going to say add SSH key. Yeah, it wants me to log back in. I'm going to log back in. I'm going to log back in. I'm going to log back in. Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to log back in. I'm going to log back in. So I log back in here. Okay. After logging back in there, what am I going to do? I'm going to come back to my Jenkins. Okay. This is my Jenkins here. Now I have that. So what do I have to do now? I need to contribute to this project, because if you come back here, you click here, you go to your repositories, you go to Jenkins GitHub 0110101. You don't have any Jenkins file yet. So what I have to do is I have to add the Jenkins file. So I'm going to come here. I will slice it to SSH. I'm going to clone this project. I will go back to my to my terminal here. I will do clear. Okay. I will just do a git clone. I will clone it inside GitLab demo, because this GitLab demo is a repository. It's just a Linux directory. Okay. So I'm going to do git clone. Yeah, I'm cloning a Git repository. I'm going to do enter. Now I'm cloning my Git repository. I clone my Git repository. So I'm going to do clear. Now if I do ls, I have the GitLab demo and the Jenkins GitHub 101. I'm going to do cd GitHub 101. This is GitLab Jenkins 101 GitHub that I do clear. Now, yeah, if I expand this, I have the README. Yeah, I'm going to, once this highlighted here, click on new file, and then here type Jenkins file. Type Jenkins file. Then once you hit enter, it gives you this blank, this empty file. What do? You go to your IDE, right? You grab your code. This is the code here. You take this. This is the code. I will copy this. Then I'll come back to my pipeline. Okay, I come back to my VS Code here. Okay, guys. So I'm going to do paste. I'm going to do paste. Okay. Now I have my code here. Okay, I have my code there. Now, because I don't have Maven here installed, I'm going to change this code here. Here, I'm just going to say echo nvn test, echo nvn test. Okay. Now, here I'm going to do, I'm on autosave. How do you check it? If you go to file, you check autosave is highlighted. So here I'm going to do a git status. Okay. Git status. Git status. Now it shows that something happened. It is showing red. Once you see red, it means it's in the working area. So I do clear, right? I do now a git add dot to move it from the working area to the staging area. Now I'm going to do a git commit -s to sign off -m for commit message. I'm going to say Jenkins, Jenkins, Jenkins file codes added. That's my commit message. So other engineers working in the same project will have some idea on what I'm doing. So yeah, I'm going to do a git push, right? I'm going to do a git push. I'm going to do a git push. This git push now, I've pushed my code to my project repository. Yeah, if you do a refresh, If I do a refresh here, you see I have my Jenkins file now here. If I click on the Jenkins file, this is the Jenkins file that we move to our version control system. Now, while here, we have to configure a webhook. That webhook is going to be a trigger. That trigger is such that Jenkins can communicate with GitHub. See, this is what we're saying. Jenkins need GitHub to house it all its project code. Then it needs to over APIs. It needs to pull down this code with some credentials. Jenkins needs credentials to access your GitHub and pull down your code and then run it on the pipeline. But in the case of GitLab, all that is not needed. You see how fast this can be. Now let's go back. We are going to go back to our GitHub. Okay. Here in GitHub, under the repository here, you are going to click on settings. Okay. Click on settings, then you're going to identify webhooks. This is webhooks here. You're going to identify webhooks. You click on webhooks. Now you click on add webhook. Here you need to give the URL to your Jenkins instance. So where am I going to get that? I will go back to my Jenkins instance. I will copy everything from the port. Okay. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to go back to my configuration for my repository. Here, I'm going to paste it here. I will do a GitHub. I will do a hyphen webhook. Okay. And then this is the endpoint. Okay. Here, you're going to slice it to application JSON. Then you're going to keep it to just the push event. You're going to say add webhook. Now you have added the webhook and there's an initial exchange between your server and this GitHub. So if you click on this thing here, you go to recent deliveries, you can see the payload. If you expand this, you see response 200. It means your Jenkins and your GitHub have exchanged information. This is a ping pong. You see? So here right now, your Jenkins can talk to your GitHub. That configuration is set. Now what we have to double check here is we have to check our credentials for our Jenkins. So if you come to our Jenkins now, yeah, okay, if you go to, if you click on, say example, you click on build now, I expect it to have issue because I'm just going to do build now, click on build now, okay. So right now it is running a pipeline. Jenkins is building this pipeline from GitHub, So if I come here, click on this drop down, go to console output, okay. Started by this, obtain Jenkins file from GitHub. You see, still waiting on scheduled task. Now, the reason why it is stuck here, because in our Jenkins file, we say Jenkins doesn't have label agent one. We don't have any agent here, which is something that Jenkins lack. For GitLab can use a default Docker image runner to run your job. So the job is going to stay here forever until you explain to Jenkins what do you mean by agent one. So how do you unstock this pipeline? For me to unstock this pipeline, I'm going to go back to my repository. I will come back here. Okay. I will come back here. I will do what? I will do a clear. Okay. Now, yeah, I'm going to just come here. I'm going to make a change in this in this code. Instead of having label agent one, okay, yeah, I'm just going to come here. I will take everything out, just keep it to any. Okay, so I will come here, take this out like this, and then keep it to any because I didn't define any agent yet. We use this once we have a Jenkins master slave architecture to specify which slaves to Jenkins to use to run a stage. After doing that, what am I going to do here? I will do a git status. Something has changed. A git status, right? Yeah, I will do clear. I will do clear. I will just do a git git add, right? To move it from the staging area, from the working area to the staging area. I will do a git commit dash s dash m. Then I'm going to say minor fix, right? Minor fix. I'm going to do enter. Yeah, I'm going to do a git push. Just do a git push because I'm trying to update that branch. Git push. Now I've updated my main branch. So if I come back to my repository here, if I do a refresh, right? If I do a refresh, you see I did a minor fix. I changed it from label to any. Then we are going to go back to our Jenkins. Okay, this is our Jenkins job. We're going to refresh this Jenkins job. Okay, now it is stuck here. What are we going to do? I will click on Jenkins CICD. Okay, then I'm going to trigger another build. I'll say build now. Okay, I'm going to trigger another build. So here we have, you see now it can run your job. It runs the job successfully. This one is staying here because it was stuck looking for your agent. So now it has run successfully. You see, stage one, yes, stage one is build. Stage two is test. Stage three is deploy. Okay. Now let me take you guys back to GitLab. If I come here, right? If I click on GitLab here, then I go to, let me go back to GitLab. You see, yeah, if I go to GitLab demo, okay, then I go to CICD, I go to pipeline, then I click on this, okay. You see, we have here build, test, deploy. So yeah, if you go to jobs, you see these are the jobs. These are the jobs. We have there, the name of the job is deploy, test, build. All of them were successful. If you go to pipeline, you click on past, you're going to see these three stuff here. So thank you very much for watching this video. From this video, we learned how Jenkins pipeline is different from GitLab pipeline. The configuration looks different. The setup looks different. So it's going to help you to get a good understanding of the differences between your Jenkins pipeline and your GitLab. So you see, Jenkins here needs GitHub to house its code. Then it has to do some API communication to pull the code and runs the pipeline. But GitLab does not need any GitHub, any extra version control system. It houses its codes, it has its own code, and then it has its own pipeline. That is why this is faster. GitLab pipelines are faster compared to Jenkins. So if you need to get yourself trained in DevOps, you can reach out to me at 347-873-5512. Okay, then we can talk about getting you into the DevOps IT journey at a shorter time. Thank you and see you in the next lecture video.